A very good morning and a warm welcome to this week's edition of the Dialogue on Soul TV. Welcome to the show. My name is Pesa Palo. I host distinguished panelists who take us through the major events of the week. I will later in the show receive your submissions, comments, and observations on these matters of national importance. Welcome aboard. It is the 3rd of May and it is World Press Freedom Day. It's that time when we reflect on the rights of the press, the journalists, and media practitioners as they continue to inform, entertain the public. And we salute all the media practitioners who are doing their job, but also call on the violators of these rights to understand the importance of the press in matters of governance, politics, and community engagements. My name is Prince Apollo. I now take the pleasure and honor to introduce to you my guest this morning, Dr. Jeda Dwele Wanzala, a resident panelist. He is a public policy researcher, but also an associate lecturer at Uganda Management Institute. I'm pleased to have you on the dialogue. Speak to our viewers.
Thank you very much, Apollo. Good morning, and good morning, colleagues in the studio. I take the opportunity to greet our viewers. And as always, I bring you greetings from the United Republic of Chirinya. I thank my residents there who are always on this show. And I'm seeing my colleague on the right looking like a new executive director of Uganda National Media Center.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much.
I'm not a prophet, but maybe you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. One quick comment on World Press Freedom Day. The press freedom in Uganda has been questionable, looking at the incidents which played out during the recent by-election in Kawempe North. Just a comment.
Of course, this day to me is so important because it was created to highlight the role that the media plays in governance as the fourth estate. And of course, it's regrettable many things that have happened in the recent past in Uganda, the torture of journalists, especially in Kawempe, as you rightly mentioned. We condemn it in the strongest terms possible, and we say that, we continue saying that journalism is not a crime, and therefore we appeal to stakeholders to really recognize that role, because information, even according to our constitution, is a human right according to the Information Act. It's a human right. Everyone needs to access information, but also it is also important that we also fight disinformation, because disinformation and misinformation also distorts communication, and at the end, you don't achieve the purpose of communication.
Thank you, Dr. Jeda Dwele Wanzala. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Daniel Rugarama. We call him Comrade Rugarama, and Comrade Rugarama is a lawyer but also a Pan-Africanist, the chairman of the Pan-Africanist movement. Speak to our viewers.
And a member of the NRA.
A member of the NRA.
Thank you so much, Comrade Prince Apollo, Comrade and Dr. Wanzala. My brother on my right, and our esteemed viewers. It is always a pleasure being here, being hosted here. This is home, really, away from home. And probably just a little bit about the press freedom, you said?
Yeah, the World Press Freedom Day.
You see, what we have had, especially in the recent past, and what continues to grow, is that how fundamental as it is, the right freedom of expression, freedom of speech, has been invaded by other actors who are not necessarily professional. And it has created a bit of a problem for you, the professionals. But of course, like any other profession, we have got intruders. But I don't know, because the journalists who are the professionals in this area will have to do something to guard their space, because this is your space. The fact that you are the fourth estate, you cannot allow all type of masqueraders to play in this very area, because I want to believe, like many people out there, you don't know now what to take as the truth or untrue, or being untrue. And in that light, although of course we may say, yes, we are glad that information now travels quicker, and it is also available, not just quickly, but in abundance. But what quality of information filters into the general public?
Sure.
Yeah. So I pray going forward that something will be done. I see a number of legislations maybe to tighten up. I wouldn't want the legislations coming up to be in the direction of gagging people, but to make sure that they filter and make the right get enjoyed even better.
Thank you. Timothy Chimongez is the Executive Director for Center for Policy Analysis and a journalist, I'm sure. It's our World Press Freedom Day, and I don't know if it was deliberate that Dr. Rugarama avoids to speak about the ills we witnessed in the Kawempe North by-election, but you can make your comment and speak to our viewers.
Thank you so much, Apollo. I'm glad to be here today, and again glad to be back to the media house here. Today is a very important day, really, as journalists, as a society, to reflect on the wins that we've had, the areas that we need to improve, but also just recognizing the important role that the media plays in our space. I have 3 points to put across, really, in light of the World Press Freedom Day.
Sure.
The first is around the increasing targeting of the journalist. Being a journalist today is one of those very risky professions.
Sure.
Not because of the work that they are doing, but also the perception that the state and the establishment today seems to have on the journalists. Far from it, I think I disagree with what Dr. highlights. It is not on the infiltration, it's the attitude. Look at actually the most recent by-election. Journalists were targeted, notwithstanding they have tags and they can be identified. We've seen their gadgets being destroyed. We've seen many of them. Actually, I saw a report recently with the Human Rights Network for Journalists, highlighting that in the most recent part, at least 130 journalists have registered injuries. Others have been beaten up, and we increasingly see that being the platform, the professional journalism is being a target. Looking at actually at the global level, the most recent report puts Uganda at least of the 180 countries that were assessed. We had Uganda stands at around 131 position, and so that is
in the world.
That's at the
global Press Freedom Index.
Yes, yes. The other area is around the role of governments, institutions that should be supporting the framework and the work that journalists play. Institutions such as UCC today have actually turned out to be agents of frustrating this specific profession. We see many of them being individuals are being targeted, individuals, and broadly speaking, the framework in which the journalists are operating seems not to be curtailed. Lastly, is around the question of the welfare of journalists. It's a very critical area and determines the quality of journalists we have in this country. If the welfare, the owners of the media space, the owners of these media institutions do not take key priority in ensuring that the journalists are well remunerated, they work in an environment that they can deliver, we are greatly affecting the kind of journalists and environment in which they operate.
Wow, that's amazing, and thank you so much for that comment. Chemongezi is a journalist, but also the executive director for Center for Policy Analysis. And gentlemen, yes, gentlemen, we also celebrated Labor Day, International Labor Day this week, and well, we may not delve deep into what happened, but also it's in line with what we've talked about, the role of the press and the work the media practitioners do. I think we also congratulate ourselves upon this International Labor Day, because we celebrate Labor Day as any other workers. Thank you. Thank you. Let's now kick off the show, but quickly, we received the sad news of a road crash in which a businessman, Rajiv Rupereria, perished this morning around, is it Busabala flyover, that side. And from the pictures we've received, it was a nasty accident. After the crash, the car caught fire immediately, and the wreckage really tells a lot about what is happening on our roads. I think it is fair, just fair, that you make a comment, because statistics have consistently put it to us that we are losing people every day, many people every day to road crashes. And I know in the studio I have people who are really enthusiastic about road safety. Dr. Jared Welewanzada, just a comment. A quick one.
Of course, my sympathies to the Rupareria family and the people of Uganda. It is sad, but like you have highlighted, we in the road safety spaces are really worried, because the issues that we are highlighting, like speed, you know, as we talk, we strengthen the regulations, the enforcement is still very low. The awareness of the people of the road themselves is very low. If you look at the witnesses, what happened on this particular road, the car was a monster car that runs, you know, that can even be taken for rally competition, and the speed was very, very high. So this led to a very strong impact, and the car had to catch fire, leading to death of the occupant. So we're really sorry. The other that we are not paying attention to is border. Because this is now causes outrage. It involves somebody who is known, but the biggest killer on the road is border. If you look at statistics, I think every day about 12 people die on the border in Uganda. I don't know whether that is a sector we have left, because we import motorcycles and we sell spare parts, and therefore we care more about the money but not the lives. That's a key area. If you look at the statistics of children who are involved in accidents, on road crashes, on motorcycles going to school, the number is also alarming. If you look at the statistics. Now, the other biggest problem is drug abuse and alcohol. You know, the other day I had a wedding in Entebbe on last Saturday, and in the night, I think people were just flying on the expressway. Someone laughed at me and said, you know, Gerard, you're driving like an old man, but I can't be a road safety activist and flying at the same time. I must demonstrate show by example. So Ugandans, stakeholders in these spaces, we need to take this very, very seriously. Otherwise, the statistics are alarming. So many people are disabled. We don't have any plan post-crash care. Families are struggling with broken bones and people who can never work again. So it's a challenge these are challenges we need to address as a country.
Dr. Rugarama, just a quick comment, and I will implore you and Timothy to tell us whether the new measures that are being introduced, the Ministry of Works and Police are now introducing the automated express penalty system, where traffic offenders will be receiving their fines, their penalty, express penalty fines via their mobile phones, email, and what. The system is automated. If you go through the red traffic lights, the CCTV cameras will capture you, then send the messages to the images to the central processing system, tower or office. Then immediately your receipt, your fine, your fine will be quickly processed and it will be sent to you directly. And I talked to the police traffic officers who are handling this matter, and they told me they are starting with the speed, overspeeding, and disrespect for traffic lights. Those two. That's where they're starting from. It is the starting point. And the speed limits have also been revised, especially on the highways, where it was 100, it is now 90. Where it was this, it is now 60. Dr. Rugarama, we are losing many lives on roads. Just a comment.
I wish I could only just make a comment. Let me start with the unfortunate occurrence of the death of Rajiv. Now, Rajiv, I have just heard it from you, but the message came on my phone. I couldn't open it because we were entering the studio. Rajiv is known to me. I can really say he's a friend. We have interacted in land matters with his father, where they want to set up a university, I think.
I will ask my producer if you can find that picture, image of the wreckage. And it
gruesome as it may, but we can watch it.
Please.
I have also interacted with him when they were opening this, what is the Kororo thing? These apartments, apartments, yes. He would give us, he was promoting the area, giving us the coupons and what have you for that because he had saloons and what have you. So we have really interacted, and it feels very sad. We are having a situation whereby at least the people who are known, the children of Mzee Rupareria, these are only two, the girl and the boy. Now when you have one of them go at this stage,
36 years.
Sudhir was looking at a hair. I think really for us as Africans, it becomes very, very sad and unfortunate. Now, the broader picture is that wouldn't wish it to happen to anybody, even if I didn't know Rajiv. I would, wherever it happens, it is a very sad moment, and we continue to lose very many people on our roads. Of course, that is a whole topic that we can go into where we don't have the time, and it is not the time for this topic. But what happens with the express penalties that will come, the new innovation, I think is a wonderful idea. Our neighbors here in Rwanda, I was in Burundi, Rwanda, and Tanzania about 3 months ago. Yeah, around there. But I went by road. But I saw the difference. You find that when we immediately left Bujumbura like this and we entered, when you leave Bujumbura, you enter into Tanzania. Somehow there is that stretch. When you leave that stretch, which is not so big, then you enter Rwanda. Everything changed. Even they will tell you, you see the people you are with, they say, now we are in Rwanda. Speed has got to be observed. You look at the cleanliness of the road, you look at the behavior of your neighbors, you look at the signs, the road signs, and these are things which are achievable. For heaven's sake, Paul Kagame, His Excellency, was here. He's much a Ugandan than he is Rwandese.
That's a video clip of banning
car wreckage.
We can only see the burning.
Yeah.
Oh, it was at that stage.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, which car is this? And at what speed was he racing? You know, some of these things.
Yeah, from the reports we've received, he smashed into a concrete barricade.
Oh,
These barricades that are put in. Yeah, look at the wreckage, completely
It cremated him.
burnt. Okay, conclude.
So finally, I think we are moving in the right direction, and we are a little bit late. We should have adopted that a long time ago.
Yeah.
But most importantly, we need to enhance our levels of civic awareness.
Sure.
But lastly, on this, I think we need to comply with what I would call discipline. Because you see, we may have this new innovation, but somehow the responsible officers are going to abuse it. I hope they don't. That has been
Let's believe they won't.
No, Apollo, finally. This has been my problem with my party. That we have got such wonderful ideas, but the cadres we put in place to dispense the kind of agenda that we have come up with don't measure up.
Thank you. Timothy, just a comment. We are losing people, and are we doing enough? And of course, will this new innovation work?
Yeah. So thank you so much. So when you look at the police report, it highlights that the leading cause of road crashes, just for purposes of information, we don't call them accidents really. These are road crashes because we believe that they can be prevented, and if all mechanisms are put in place, they can be addressed. So the report highlights that the leading cause is the human error, and human error would include what the colleagues have highlighted. But more fundamentally, in the recent past, we've worked with the Ministry of Works and Transport in putting in place a couple of policy frameworks to streamline this area. In terms of the most recent being the policy on speed, which introduces a couple of like speed depending on the area.
Yeah.
Speed limit, and now what the new innovation of e-ticketing, which is a brilliant idea, and I agree with the doctor here that we are running against time. We are far behind the time. But fundamentally, I think is to emphasize that as a country, we have a big problem in terms of planning. We have crisis in our roads. We have just recently, I was seeing some of the colleagues, they were affected with their timber infrastructure burnt. We are facing the mushrooming pump, the gas stations, which are everywhere, and they seem to be nothing clear in terms of planning. So I think the city is as a country, we have a problem in terms of planning. And that there is need for us to focus on that specific area. Of course, it requires goodwill. And for the road safety, and specifically on our roads, we lose, as Dr. highlighted, close to 14 people every day on our roads. That's a whole taxi. You know, having to lose a whole taxi every day. You don't calculate the indirect consequences of that.
More than 5,000 a year.
Absolutely. And if you actually equate it in terms of money, we lose at least 5% of our gross GDP on managing things that ideally we would have addressed. If you go to Mulago, we are treating cases that ideally would be prevented. We are losing citizens that ideally wouldn't be there if we had proper planning. So the last two things for me as a way forward on this specific thing. One is to agree with Doctor on the need to ensure that our people understand the importance of behavior change on our roads. Secondly, I think it's a question of governance really, because we see that we are putting infrastructure in the country, some without very clear planning. You see in the city we are grappling with things of potholes, and even the infrastructure that you see, it's one single lane. I've been in many cities, and you can hardly see where there are only one lanes. There has to be mechanisms which we plan to ensure that our roads are safe, And unfortunately, when you go to most of these cities out of town, they seem to be organized more than what we are seeing on the city here. And so there is a fundamental problem in how we are looking at road safety. And if we are not careful, we may continue losing more people on our roads.
All right. Thank you so much, Timothy. And now we start or we kick off the big show, the dialogue. We'll be receiving your comments. Let's have those comments and observations come in. Anytime you wish, send on WhatsApp, send on SMS. Tell us what you think about this and other topics we are going to talk about. I'm now switching to a very sensitive topic about the alleged abductions in this country. And this relates to an incident on Sunday when one member of the opposition National Unity Platform, Edward Sebufu, known as Eddie Mutwe, was picked from the areas of Mukono. Until 2 days ago, we learned that he is incarcerated somewhere. And the anger has been boiling, and people asking why the abductions are actually happening wantonly by people who have power. I now implore Dr. Wedhe to have at least 5 minutes, before we also cross to talk about the creation of new districts, relatedly to a meeting in State House where President Museveni approved the proposal to carve out 3 districts and 1 city from the Greater Tororo district. And the reason is, one, the move is to address the ethnic tensions in that area of Tororo between the Japadola and the Itesot. But again, they say it is meant to improve service delivery in that area. But before we do that, let me hear from you, Doctor. What is your take on the issue that is not coming up for the first time? And actually, even Edward Sebufu has not been arrested once, or has not. This is almost the second or third time. When will these so-called abductions stop?
Thank you very much, Apple. One is that as a Ugandan, I would like to express my disappointment with what is going on in the country. While I have never belonged to the NRM as a member of the party, I am a student of the politics of NRM and President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And in the interest of our viewers, we know that the current president of the Republic of Uganda mobilized his force right from the NRA on the foundation of the students' movement, people and the intellectuals, people who are in university, who had gone to school with him in Intare, from different parts of the country. It was never built on tribalism at the time. And if you look at the key points in the 10-point program, was promotion and protection of human rights, and also democracy. I think democracy, promoting democracy and rule of law was point number 1. And then we also had a key point of defense of Ugandans and all their properties, lives and their properties. So I want to believe him that these were the selling points that made Ugandans embrace the NRM. And this was to create a distinction between his administration and the administration that the NRA violently fought in order to push out of power. Through that struggle, many lives were lost. Now, I looked at President Museveni as a reformer, okay? Indeed, he brought the adult suffrage, he brought open campaigns where people could go. In fact, in the beginning of the NRA and the movement system, the opponents used to campaign together, address the same crowd, and go home peacefully. Now, today, in the later years of this administration, I think I am seeing totally a difference between what President Museveni preached and what is happening right now. There are questions I would like to pose out there. Are these opposition actors or political parties illegal? No, they are not illegal. Are they protected by the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda? Yes, they are protected. Plus other legislations like Political Parties and Organization Act and so forth. Coming to the role of these defense institutions, the police, the army, what is their role? I think they're supposed to help the executive, one, to defend the country, like the army specifically, because in this case, what is being mentioned over and over again is the participation of the army in civic matters, in politics. That what is their role? We have agents that are supposed to defend the country from aggression. This could be domestic military aggression or foreign that may come and threaten the security of the country. So agencies like the former CMI are supposed to spy for the country, threats on the country. Now, where a citizen is kidnapped, okay, and even his naked picture, shaved, appears on social media casually, I think this is something that all Ugandans should not take very, very lightly, because the indiscipline of forces can retrogress everything we have achieved over the years. The other day, it's not an isolated incident. People have been saying we are kidnapping and torturing the civilians. The SFC went and beat up the entire police station in Lubowa the other day. If I saw police officers with broken bones, I saw citizens who were there renovating the police station, beaten with swollen limbs, and even people who had brought their suspects reporting they were also beaten. I don't know whether these officers have been reprimanded, but I believe that as a country we need to reflect. Are we doing the right thing? What kind of country do we expect to have if we do these things? And by the way, this doesn't matter whether you support the government or not, because it can happen to anyone. Because tomorrow your mind or your opinion may shift and you don't agree with some people. Would you be treated in such a manner? I think this is something, a conversation that Ugandans need to discuss, and we need to find a solution. First, I want to conclude by commending the Human Rights Commission this time around, led by Justice Wangadia. You know, she, for the first time, they issued a statement directed to the head of this institution, saying, telling him, you produce, you know, this person immediately, because we saw this person, his photo was, you know, was published. Can you immediately release? So I think these institutions that we created in our constitution need to have some spine. Otherwise, we will be isolated as an individual, and therefore you cannot fight on their own. So I commend her, and I believe this is something we all have to take very, very seriously.
Thank you so much. And Comrade Garama, as an NRM member and supporter, how do you find this situation where we used to respect the 48-hour rule? People, whether they have committed a crime or an offense, must be produced in court within 48 hours. But looks like now it is a trend. People can be taken into custody. They spend there weeks or months or even years.
Maybe, Comrade Apollo, to remind you that I also happen to head the second tenet upon which NRM rotates, and that is Pan-Africanism.
Sure.
Is patriotism, Pan-Africanism, and
Socio-economic transformation.
those four. So some of these things, certainly I'm not, I'm at least not yet the official spokesperson of NRM, like
I simply
Comrade,
prophesied that maybe.
like Comrade Dr. Gerard was insinuating, but it can happen. Now, certain things pain me, and at least you, Apollo, and our viewers and my colleagues here that I have shared this platform with, they know my stand. Certain things are not supposed to be done by NRM. NRM, its philosophy is very clear that the 10-point program, even if you expand it to the 15 that it was expanded to, respect of human rights and promoting the same democracy is at the core. So institutions,
respecting the dignity of people.
Institutions must be allowed to work. Now, in this particular respect, even if Eddie Mutwe had an issue, assuming, because I'm not saying he's above that, he can have an issue like any other Ugandan can get an issue with the security forces. What is the procedure of bringing Eddie Mutwe or any other person to the security forces? How do you arrest him? How do you keep him? How do you process him to court? That is at 38 years now towards 40. NRM, we must have mastered that. That's why when you are talking about Kawempe North, I didn't go there, mainly because I had talked about it some time back. Sometimes I tend to think that some of these people who work in government want to undermine the credibility of NRM and probably bring our government to its knees. I do not understand as to how a person who is professionally trained in the army, in police, and other security agencies can create a situation whereby the credibility of his or her government is going to be doubted. I want to thank again, like my brother Dr. Gerard has mentioned.
In 2 minutes, please.
That to thank the head of human rights,
Honorable Mariam Wangadia.
Wangadia. The only thing I want to understand is where she has directed the communication. Is it proven beyond reasonable doubt that actually they are the ones who are holding Eddie Mutwe?
No, I have that communication here. I can pick one.
It is to the CDF.
Here. This is to the Chief of Defense Forces, Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, PO Box 3798 Mbuya, Kampala. Whereas Edward Rogers Sebufu, also known as Eddie Mutwe, has been in your custody since 26 April 2025, and whereas the Commission is satisfied that he is being unlawfully detained or restricted, this is to direct you to cause the immediate release of Edward Rogers Sebufu from the custody, failure of which you may be liable for contempt under Article 53(1)(d) of the Constitution, dated the 2nd of May 2025, signed Honorable Mariam Wangadia, chairperson.
You have verified that communication?
Yeah.
It is from her office?
It is from the office.
Because what she says there, that
from the Human Rights Commission
has been verified, is that indeed Eddie Mutwe has been in the custody unlawfully.
Yeah.
But as to whether he, Eddie Mutwe, is actually in anyway. Those are semantics. I want to believe that they have done their due diligence, and indeed Ed Mutwe is there. I don't want at this stage to go into the nitty-gritties of why he is there. We are looking at the how.
Yep.
And our issue being how, I am saying we can do better. As a government, as a party that has been in leadership for now close to 40 years, I think certain things are not supposed to be done willy-nilly, and we are not supposed to allow individuals to overshadow institutions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Garama. Timothy.
Yeah.
This is not the first time, and it looks like now the arrest, the process of arrest now has somehow changed. It is now armed men in a drone who would pick you and take you, and you're pronounced missing for some time until a time comes when possibly information will filter in that you are somewhere. Start from there.
That's true. I mean, we are in a very not interesting times where the government seems to be against its people. Those that are charged with the responsibility seems to be exercising that with the highest level of impunity, and even going ahead to put it on our faces that what can we do? It's the highest level of impunity. When I hear Dr. here say that there are few people who are maybe hell-bent to dirten the government or to put the government in bad light, I think for me it just emphasizes that it's a government that seems to be not in charge. I mean, we've given you the mandate, we've given you the responsibility. It can't be
something like a breakdown of government structures or what?
No, it's just poor government, poor governance systems, and that those that actually be given this mandate to exercise it on our behalf actually have failed to do that. Because our expectation is that for government, they should be able to protect us. We discharge and delegate that mandate on government. Now, when we see government, and it's not for the first time, the only unique bit is that you see a little bit of bravado and thumping of chest by those that we've given the mandate, that there is very little that you can do, and that we are going to hang so-and-so, we are going to deal with you, you have an ultimatum here. It's the highest level of impunity of any government to get there. And what saddens me today is that we are taking a very dangerous direction where the conversation now has shifted to tribalism, where a section of the country seems to feel that it is this tribe against this tribe, a place that we don't want to be in the country. And for a sensible government, a government that is willing and is careful of its people, careful of the country, it should bother them.
Maybe more information.
Yeah.
You looked at the cartoon by Spire.
Yeah.
Now that was a very disturbing cartoon, and I don't think we need to go there really. Whoever saw that cartoon, you cannot. There is no anywhere where the Wanyankore as a tribe sat, and then they commissioned somebody to go and start torturing others.
Maybe point of correction. Spire's cartoon responded to the social media post.
Hey,
Yes.
what was the social media
The
post?
social media post was that he started peeing on himself after shaving him and beating him. Now he's starting to learn some Lunyankole. He's speaking to make him to learn some Lunyankole. So it has been a serious quarrel online, and that's what Timothy is picking
But
up.
now the Mukoko thing they are talking about, if this one is in Uganda, the whole thing is mangled up anyway. It's terrible.
And you see, when everything is mangled up and seems to be in a confusion, is where we expect the state and government to come and take charge.
Yeah.
It can't be that also government is also joining us in
Crying victim.
Not really.
should
Maybe
take charge.
let me clear that. Not really. Let me tell you, Brother Timo, that there are so many government programs which go right. Simply because they go right, they are not talked about as these cases, the isolated cases, like for instance, this one of Ed Mutwe, which is wrong and it has come out and it is gaining currency. But I can assure you many things go right in this country, security and in other aspects.
So
All right.
see, just maybe for me to comment.
Timo, please conclude.
Colleagues have thanked the chairperson of Uganda Human Rights for coming bold. I actually think that that should be what that's her mandate. Thanking her should be the list of our roles in it, because that's what's expected of her to do. She's expected to come out and defend the people when things go wrong. That's her mandate.
Question is, what if her directives are ignored?
I mean, that's also another whole discussion.
But
She would have discharged her duty.
That's her mandate, you see. And she has the high court powers. And everyone, you see, and partly because why I would actually agree with congratulating and thanking her, it comes at a high cost.
Yeah, true.
And she's putting her job, almost her everything, in line to put such statement.
Sure.
And so it comes at a place where most of our public servants, most of those that should be actually coming out very strong, because we've seen in the recent past institutions that should be doing this work have actually stepped back and seems to be taking a middle ground. And every time institutions, including the judiciary, take the middle ground, it favors the oppressor or the would-be.
You see now why we come up with the radical new
Even actually, the Uganda Law Society also issued a statement condemning the arrest and incarceration of Eddie Mutwe.
Even when our man
it's a really sensitive issue we are talking about, issues to do with human rights violations, and especially when the suspects are very powerful people in government. And I'll need your comments and observations as we conclude in just 1-2 minutes. Doctor, just a quick comment as we move on. What do you think? What do you think now will happen after the Human Rights Commission has issued this strong directive? Do you hope that the powers will heed and possibly respond in the affirmative?
Honestly, under normal circumstances, like Timothy has said, that the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission, first of all, is supposed to be a judge, and therefore has powers to give such directives. Under normal circumstances, Eddie Mutwe would have been released even today. But these days, the country is very unpredictable, because the way the institutions function is very unpredictable. Even the individuals in various offices, places of responsibility, are also very unpredictable. So I cannot predict, but for me, my concern is if we destroy, we abuse the army, the UPDF, we destroy the police, we destroy the parliament, and then we destroy other institutions to the extent that they become very irrelevant to the citizens of this country. What are we aiming to achieve? Are we trying to create a Congo as a model country, or a Somalia, or what? These are the questions various leaders need to ask in their head. What are the consequences of your actions?
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll be taking your comments on 0701-609906. My producer will run that number on the screen when we return from this short break. But when we return, we'll also be looking at the implications of creating new administrative units, especially at a time when the country is struggling with economic hardships, with foreign partners cutting the funding, and of course, all these hardships we can talk about. But we have been told it is about addressing the ethnic tensions in the Tororo area, but also to improve service delivery. Is it true that this will actually improve the service delivery in that area? Well, let's discuss this and that after this short break. Don't go away.